Morning. Well, the old man's at it again. Peace be with you. My peace I give unto you. Amen. For whatever reason, I've been mugging up on my old monks. Started off with the à la Grande Chartreuse en France, les moines français, dans les Alpes. So the Carthusian monks, I've had a recording of their midnight vigils, which is sung, Gregorian chant, and then a little reading, I think from Kings, 1 Kings. Lady and dog. Is it a man, actually? Excuse me. Isn't that a lovely, peaceful scene, though? I mean, that is it, basically. No, it is a lady, actually. I smile. Autumnal, it's a bit sort of wet, really, but never mind. But distinctly autumnal here in Hingerland, Hertfordshire, where hurricanes hardly ever happen. Focus, so peace. Especially these monks have been founded by St. Bruno in the year 1084, way off in the Alps, so jolly cold in the winter. I know I've lived dans les montagnes en Auvergne, so that's the Auvergnat mountains in the Massif Central. And that was minus 15, minus 20 even. Great piles of snow, a yard of laying snow outside your front door, for heaven's sake. You had to be on it comme un taupe, like a little mole, dig your way out, dig, because otherwise you'd be stuck in there. You have these walls of snow. You walked to the front door, but a really hard, dry cold, and you made wood, or fait le bois. You make wood. I lived 3 winters there in the mountains. So you have all this wood lined up, drying. It takes at least 2 years before it's worth having. But the old boys make these artworks of beautifully cut wood, exactly at the right length and exactly the right shape, just to fit into these beautiful, great big des poêles, big stoves, the sort of proper ones in the house with the whole iron thing in the house and one pipe leading out. So you're getting all the heat out of that great big fire, not just a fireplace where much of it goes up the chimney. So ramble, but so I've experienced those hard, and they say they used to be much harder actually, winters in the French mountains, not the Alps. I was in the, as I said, the Massif Central. And there they find silence, peace. They primarily have a set pattern of worship. It's praying in Latin, the various offices, starting with these vigils at midnight, and the whole bell sounds, and off they go, and then, so it's, and that goes on. So they're very much apart from the world, but they have some contact through their abbot, who is in touch with newspapers, I think, and the radio possibly, and possibly even television. And they've got a computer, for heaven's sake. They make something obviously called chartreuse, the green and the yellow liqueur, which I believe is their principal source of income. the Benedictine monks. In fact, I've avoided becoming a Benedictine monk, so St. Benedict's dates are sort of 450, I think, to 534. I may be wrong there, but that period. And then it went on, and then the first main monastery, again, I may be wrong here, but I think it's at Monte Subiaco, which is about 40 kilometers, I think, northeast of Rome. I've been looking all this stuff up recently, so it's reasonably fresh in my spirit. For myself, I've always loved St. Francis of Assisi and the Poor Clares, of course. In Assisi, Umbria, northwestern Italy. So his dates, I do know, are 1182 to 1226. And then Clare lived on, so he died at the age of 44, but I think Clare lived on to 56 or 59 years old. And a very beautiful spirit, and they lived, the sisters, the nuns, at San Damiano, and I've physically been there, just by Assisi, and the actual physical buildings, and for me the most beautiful room is the refectory where they used to eat, and those are the actual wooden, oak or olive tables that they physically would have eaten on 900 years ago, or 800 and something, whatever it is. You can just feel something beautiful there. To me, then, the jolly old Roman Catholics, this is St. Francis now, have totally naffed up the spirit of St. Francis with the huge, monstrous excrescence of a basilica. St. Francis is known throughout the world for holy poverty. And the Roman Catholic organization of man has milked his sainthood ever since for every last penny they can extract. Utterly against the spirit of holy poverty of St. Francis, but essentially of Christ. Christ's words are, "Birds of the air have nests, foxes have holes, but I have nowhere to lay my head." So these huge, great monasteries, Benedictines obviously known for it, Henry VIII wasn't too keen. I've looked into it around where I am here, Harpenden, by St. Albans. This is why I'm in this area. That goes back to 1077 to 1088. The actual physical building has been there all that time. Well, there's been that time since then. But Alban was martyred, we think, in the sort of 200s, whenever it was exactly, for allowing someone called Amphibolus, which actually just means cloak in Latin, but anyway, Alban was a Roman centurion, so he would have had a red cloak to indicate the authority of his position in the Roman. So he would have had 100 centurion, 100 soldiers under him, and no doubt involved in killing people. And then he saw the light of Christ through the Christian, and knowing clearly what would become of him, he accepted Christ. So no more killing. And he's obviously venerated also throughout the world. And to me, the monstrous hypocrisy now is the divine right of kings, for heaven's sake, from Henry VIII onwards, that the head of state, England, the state, was also made himself the head of the church. Ooh. And the Roman Catholics, I'm afraid, I've spoken at length on this elsewhere, but the Roman Catholics have just had much longer to do it. So St. Peter, was instituted as the rock, Petrus, rock, Latin, by Christ, to be the first leader of the Christian church. He would have been a Jew, Simon Peter, a fisherman, to lead God's Christian church in the world. And you go to Rome. I've lived in Rome out actually, under Ponte Palatine, a little friend passing. You can see him, the squirrel. Where are my nuts? They're so cute, those little fellows. So quick in their movements, and they run down the trees. They stop. It's completely controlled. It's not as if they're falling off. They run down, stop, nose down on a vertical tree, for heaven's sake. They must have very mobile little wrists, ankles. So there's a chart with all the popes from Peter all the way through. It's Matthew chapter 6, I believe. You cannot serve two masters. You either serve God, spiritual things, or money, worldly things. You cannot serve both. And that organization of man, the Roman Catholics, has, if for no other reason, strayed from a Christian path, in as much as they've gone for material things. And you're led astray. The Benedictines are so strong about this. Things. I physically have had, I think it's 11 winters out in holy poverty, of which I've had some in, but I've physically lived out under the stars or under the arch of a canal bridge or on the porch of a cathedral, actually, in St. Albans and so on and so forth, under Ponte Palatino in Rome and so on. Also quite without money, and yet here I am to tell the tale. God has looked after me, blessedly. So in a small way, where are my nuts? I knew I hid them somewhere. They're somewhere, I know they are. They hide so many that they can't help finding them. Not the one they thought they'd hidden, but just another one someone else might have even hidden. And because of the trees, there's sort of, the earth below is fertile and kind of covered in this floor of leaves and so on. They just have that cute little way of digging, and then he'll sit up, and if it picks up on this thing, but they'll just kind of sit up on their haunches and kind of look around with their little white chests. That you might do it. There he goes. Look. Oh, over there. And normally they just run up that pillar. They can't help it. It's there. So, I'll climb that one then. See what the view is. Oh, it's a good view over here. Here we go. And they use their little paws. I hope you can see this. It's such a pleasure just watching that little, so lively now. And of course you get a pair of them that have this race around the tree, and the branches, they just fly through the branches. It's quite extraordinary, their acrobatics. So there we go. There he is, look. I do so much hope you can see that. Look at him, with he's holding his, he looks like a little old monk, doesn't he? Holding his little paws. Oh, clean my nose, clean my ears. Oh, clean my toes. Oh, we've got to have clean paws. Oh, here we go. I can spend ages just watching them. I, in the end, have not become a monk formally through any of these organizations. My background's more Church of England, Protestant rather than Roman Catholic, but even so, Wonder if he knows he's being filmed. He's a very good little actor, isn't he? Just stay where you are. Don't go far. That's it. Just show off how clever you are. Yes. But my life is monastic, quite frankly. And then one of the phrases, they made a film of these, it's a new, very modern, started in 1978 at Grenache. It's a monastery in the sort of south of France more, but I think also in the mountains, south of Grenoble now. And there's someone called Lefebvre, and they broke away. It's called the Tridentine Mass. So in Latin, so the traditional, they broke away from the sort of big organized church. And I think there were big rifts and they were excommunicated for a while or something, I don't know. Anyway, there are about 50 odd monks and priests there, Benedictine. So I watched that, and the phrase was, people say of us, "Oh, what do, you monks? You do nothing. You just pray to God." And then the monk says, that is almost the greatest compliment anyone can pay, because yes, that's what they do, nothing. Just worship God.